speed, fame, glory, and tragedy. Some of the brightest stars who once ruled Hollywood and global entertainment lost their lives in shocking traffic accidents that the world will never forget. These weren't just crashes, they were sudden endings that froze their legacies in time, leaving fans to wonder what might have been. From car wrecks on lonely highways to plane disasters in the skies, each story reminds us how fragile fame can be, how one moment of fate can erase a lifetime of brilliance. Today, we look back at 13 famous people who died in traffic accidents, the icons who left behind not just their work, but the haunting question of why so soon. Which one of these tragedies shocked you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to follow for more stories that reveal the unseen sides behind fame.
Paul Walker, 1973-2013. The world still remembers the burning wreckage, a Porsche Carrera GT engulfed in flames on a California street. Paul Walker, beloved star of Fast and Furious, was gone in an instant. The car, traveling at nearly 160 kilometers per hour, lost control and hit a light pole before exploding. Witnesses could do nothing but watch as smoke filled the sky. The same actor who lived his career surrounded by cars met his end in one. Born in California, Walker grew from child actor to global action icon. His calm charm and dedication made him a fan favorite. And beyond fame, he was deeply involved in charity work, especially Reach Out Worldwide, helping victims of natural disasters. His sudden death at age 40 shook Hollywood to its core. Co-stars cried on set, production halted, and fans across the world built makeshift memorials with candles and car keys. Even today, his name appears every time an engine roars on screen. His legacy? A mix of adrenaline and heart. Proof that heroes don't always fade quietly. Which scene of Paul Walker do you remember most? The races or the smile? Tell us in the comments and stay tuned for the next unforgettable name.
James Dean, 1931 to 1955. A silver Porsche Spyder cuts through the California dusk and in one blinding instant collides head-on with another car. The impact was so fierce that the engine flew out of the vehicle. Inside was James Dean, the rebellious heart of Hollywood, only 24 years old. Within minutes, the man who embodied youthful defiance became a legend frozen in time. Dean wasn't just an actor, he was a symbol. With only 3 major films, Rebel Without a Cause, East of Eden, Giant, he redefined what it meant to be vulnerable, angry, and alive on screen. His mix of sensitivity and rebellion spoke to a restless generation searching for identity in the post-war world. The crash turned him into myth. Fans refused to believe it, rumors spread that his car was cursed. Decades later, the legend of James Dean still fuels books, documentaries, and tattoos. The eternal rebel who lived fast and died faster. If he had survived that night, what kind of actor or icon might he have become? Share your thoughts below, and let's move to the next soul whose fame met fate on the open road. Aaliyah, 1979-2001. A warm Caribbean evening, clear skies, and a short flight home. Nothing seemed wrong. But moments after takeoff from the Bahamas, a small Cessna 402 plane carrying singer Aaliyah plunged to the ground and burst into flames. The investigation later revealed the aircraft was overloaded, carrying far more weight than allowed. Aaliyah, just 22, was gone before the world truly understood her brilliance. She was called the Princess of R&B. Smooth vocals, futuristic beats, effortless cool. Songs like Try Again and Are You That Somebody reshaped the sound of late 90s pop. She wasn't just ahead of her time, she defined it. Music, film, fashion, Aaliyah bridged them all with grace. Her death shocked both the industry and her fans. Vigils appeared in cities around the world. Fellow artists wept on stage. In her absence, her style and sound became a blueprint for a new generation, from Beyoncé to Rihanna. Aaliyah's story reminds us that sometimes the brightest light burns the shortest. Which of her songs still echoes in your playlist today? Tell us below.
and prepare for another legend whose royal fate met tragedy behind the wheel.
Grace Kelly, 1929 to 1982. It was supposed to be a peaceful drive through the winding roads of Monaco. But as a Rover P6 sped down the mountain, Grace Kelly suddenly lost control. The car veered off a steep cliff, crashing into a ravine below. Her daughter, Princess Stephanie, survived. Grace, the radiant princess who once ruled both Hollywood and Monaco, never woke again. Before royalty, she was Hollywood's golden girl, the Hitchcock muse in Rear Window, the Oscar-winning star of The Country Girl, a vision of elegance and discipline. At age 26, she left fame behind to become Princess of Monaco, uniting cinema and aristocracy in one fairy tale life. Her death at 52 shattered the illusion of perfection. Mourning swept across two worlds, film and monarchy. Fans wept not only for a princess, but for the symbol of poise, grace, and silent strength she embodied. Even now, her name stands for timeless class, but behind the elegance was a woman whose destiny proved that even royalty cannot escape fate. Do you remember Grace Kelly as the movie star or the princess? Share your thoughts below, and let's continue with another young soul whose future ended in a sudden crash. Anton Yelchin, 1989 to 2016. It happened in silence. No explosion, no highway chase. Just a freak moment in his own driveway. Actor Anton Yelchin stepped out of his SUV only for the vehicle to roll backward and pin him against the metal gate. By the time friends found him, it was too late. The investigation later revealed a faulty gear shift design, a mechanical flaw that turned an ordinary morning into tragedy. He was only 27. Born in Russia and raised in Los Angeles, Yelchin's talent was undeniable. From Star Trek to Light Crazy, he radiated intelligence, sensitivity, and quiet strength. Critics saw him as the next great actor of his generation, a rare mix of indie authenticity and blockbuster charisma. His sudden death stunned Hollywood. Fellow actors mourned not just the loss of a friend, but of a future that seemed limitless. The studio later recalled thousands of similar vehicles, yet nothing could undo what happened that morning. Yelchin left behind performances full of empathy and depth, proof that impact isn't measured in years, but in sincerity. Do you remember him as Chekhov in Star Trek or as the soulful lover in Light Crazy? Tell us below as we move on to another Hollywood beauty whose final drive became front-page tragedy. Jane Mansfield, 1933 to 1967. A dark Louisiana highway, just before dawn. The mist was thick. Headlights cut through the fog, and then came the crash. Jane Mansfield's car slammed into the rear of a slow-moving tractor-trailer. The impact was catastrophic. Within seconds, the glamorous blonde bombshell, once hailed as Marilyn Monroe's rival, was gone. 3 of her children survived in the back seat, including future actress Mariska Hargitay. Jane was more than a Hollywood sex symbol. She was witty, daring, and one of the first stars to blur the line between film and publicity. Her charisma electrified comedies like The Girl Can't Help It and Will Success Spoil Rock Hunter, making her a 1950s pop culture phenomenon. Her death shocked the world, not only for its brutality, but for the rumors it sparked. Tabloids whispered myths about decapitation, forcing the industry to create new safety measures. The Mansfield Bar, a metal bar now mandatory on trucks to prevent similar crashes. Jane's story became legend. Beauty, fame, and the cautionary tale of how quickly glamour can vanish. When you think of Jane Mansfield, do you see the Hollywood goddess or the mother who never made it home? Share your thoughts, and let's continue to the next tragedy that turned a movie set into a nightmare. Vic Morrow, 1929 to 1982.
It was supposed to be a thrilling action sequence, helicopters, explosions, and movie magic. But on the set of Twilight Zone, the movie, everything went wrong. As a helicopter hovered over Vic Morrow and two child actors, a pyrotechnic blast caused the aircraft to lose control. Within seconds, the helicopter crashed onto the set, killing all three instantly. Cameras kept rolling, capturing a tragedy that would change Hollywood forever. Morrow was a respected actor, known for his roles in Blackboard Jungle and the TV series Combat. He had built a reputation for intensity and professionalism, a man who gave everything to his craft. Ironically, his final scene, meant to show heroism, ended in the very disaster he feared. The aftermath was devastating. The director faced trial, new safety laws were written, and film sets across America re-examined their ethics. Vic Morrow's death became a turning point, a symbol that no shot is worth a life. He left behind not only his legacy, but also his daughter, actress Jennifer Jason Leigh, who continues to honor his name through her work. Do you believe his death truly changed how Hollywood handles stunts today? Share your thoughts below. And next, we'll look at a tragedy that silenced America's sweetheart in midair. Carole Lombard, 1908 to 1942. The night sky over Nevada burned bright for just a moment, then went dark forever. On January 16, 1942, actress Carole Lombard boarded TWA Flight 3 after finishing a U.S. war bond tour. The plane never made it. It crashed into Potosi Mountain, killing all 22 aboard. America's sweetheart, only 33, was gone in an instant. Carole Lombard was one of the greatest comedians of her era, a radiant star known for her quick wit, elegance, and magnetic charm in classics like My Man Godfrey and To Be or Not to Be. She was also the wife of screen legend Clark Gable, their romance one of Hollywood's most beloved stories. Her death devastated Gable. He enlisted in the U.S. Army Air Forces soon after, saying he wanted to honor her by serving the country she died supporting. Across America, fans mourned not just a film star, but a patriot and pioneer who showed that beauty and bravery could coexist. In the decades since, Carole Lombard's name has come to represent both Hollywood glamour and quiet heroism. Audie Murphy, 1925 to 1971. The fog hung low over the Virginia mountains when a twin-engine plane carrying Audie Murphy disappeared from radar. Hours later, rescuers found the wreckage. There were no survivors. The war hero who had cheated death on the battlefield finally met it in the quiet hills of America, at just 45 years old. Audie Murphy wasn't just an actor. He was the most decorated American soldier of World War II, earning every major combat award, including the Medal of Honor. After the war, he transitioned to Hollywood, starring in dozens of westerns and the autobiographical To Hell and Back, which became a box office hit. His courage inspired millions, a living reminder of sacrifice and resilience. But fame never softened him. Murphy quietly battled post-war trauma long before the term PTSD was widely known. When his plane went down in 1971, the nation grieved both a soldier and the star. To this day, his grave at Arlington National Cemetery remains one of the most visited, a place where fans salute not the actor, but the man who lived what he portrayed. How often do we forget that true heroes carry unseen battles? Share your thoughts as we move on to a voice that defined an entire country, one silenced in midair. Pedro Infante, 1917 to 1957. The morning sky over Mérida, Mexico was calm when the roar of a cargo plane suddenly turned into silence. The aircraft, piloted by Pedro Infante himself, stalled shortly after takeoff and crashed into a neighborhood, exploding on impact. The beloved singer and actor was killed instantly. He was only 39. Pedro Infante wasn't just a performer, he was Mexico's heart. With over 60 films and hundreds of songs, he became the face and voice of the nation's golden age of cinema. His heartfelt performances in Tizoc and Nosotros los Pobres embodied the working-class spirit, charming, romantic, and deeply human. When news of his death broke, Mexico froze. Radio stations went silent, people flooded the streets, and the government declared a national day of mourning. Millions refused to believe he was gone. Rumors claimed he had faked his death. That's how deeply he was loved. Decades later, Pedro Infante remains immortal, his voice still echoing through radios, festivals, and the hearts of generations. If you were alive today, do you think his music would still rule Latin charts? Share your thoughts as we now remember another legend whose final flight marked the end of laughter and wisdom.
Will Rogers, 1879 to 1935. It was August 1935. The skies over Alaska were gray, the air cold and restless. Humorist Will Rogers and aviator Wiley Post boarded a small aircraft bound for the Arctic. Moments after takeoff, the plane lost power and plunged into the shallow waters near Point Barrow. Both men were killed instantly. America lost its favorite storyteller that day. Will Rogers was more than an entertainer. He was the conscience of a nation. A cowboy philosopher, radio host, and newspaper columnist, he blended humor with wisdom, tackling politics and human nature with kindness and wit. His simple truth, "I never met a man I didn't like," became a national motto during the Great Depression. When news of his death spread, the United States fell silent. Flags flew at half-staff, and millions tuned into radio tributes that played his voice one last time. His blend of humor and humanity made him a friend to everyone, from presidents to farmers. Today, his legacy still shapes American comedy and social commentary. Will Rogers proved that laughter could be a form of love, and that even a cowboy could teach a country how to hope. Which of his quotes do you think still rings true today? Share your thoughts. And next, we'll look at a man who brought gadgets and wit to James Bond's world before fate struck on an English road.
Desmond Llewellyn, 1914 to 1999. A quiet December afternoon in East Sussex turned tragic when actor Desmond Llewellyn, best known as Q from the James Bond films, collided head-on with another car while driving home from a fan event. Paramedics rushed to the scene, but he succumbed to his injuries soon after. He was 85, sharp, charming, and still working. For over 3 decades, Llewellyn defined Q, the gadget master who armed James Bond with wit and wonder. Appearing in 17 films, from Russia with Love to The World Is Not Enough, he became one of the franchise's most beloved figures. Audiences adored his dry humor, his chemistry with every Bond actor, and a twinkle in his eye that said he always knew more than 007 himself. His passing stunned fans worldwide. At the London premiere of the next Bond film, the audience stood for a minute of silence in his honor. His final words in cinema, "Always have an escape plan," suddenly felt prophetic. Desmond Llewellyn wasn't just an actor. He was the soul of a cinematic legacy, a man who made intelligence, not violence, the real secret weapon. Which Q moment do you remember most? The gadgets or the grin? Share your thoughts as we move to the final name, a woman whose last drive turned a Hollywood street into a firestorm.
Anne Heche, 1969 to 2022. It was a sunny Los Angeles afternoon when actress Anne Heche drove her Mini Cooper through a quiet neighborhood and everything spiraled out of control. The car sped through an intersection, crashed into a house, and burst into flames. She was trapped for nearly an hour before firefighters could pull her from the wreckage. A week later, she was declared brain dead at age 53. Anne Heche's life was as complex as her roles. She rose to fame in the late 1990s with performances in Donnie Brasco, 6 Days, 7 Nights, and Psycho. Off-screen, she was outspoken, bold, and often misunderstood. One of the first A-list actresses to openly date a woman in Hollywood, facing both praise and backlash. Her accident reignited conversations about mental health, fame, and the pressures of life in the spotlight. While controversy often followed her, even her critics agreed she was fearless, a woman who lived with intensity, passion, and fire, both on screen and off. In her final act, Anne H. became an organ donor, saving the lives of others, even in death. Do you think Hollywood ever truly understood Anne H? Tell us below, and stay until the end where we remember them all once more.
13 names, 13 lives that ended in motion, on roads, in skies, and in moments that no one saw coming. From the rebellious fire of James Dean to the quiet courage of Grace Kelly, the golden voice of Aaliyah to the unshakable strength of Audie Murphy, each of them left behind a legacy larger than the tragedy that took them. Their stories remind us how fragile brilliance can be. Fame doesn't make anyone immortal, but memory does. Every film watched, every song replayed, every quote remembered keeps them alive in the hearts of those who still care. As the lights fade, we remember not the way they died, but the way they lived. Which of these stories moved you the most? Tell us in the comments. And if you want to keep exploring the unseen lies behind fame, don't forget to follow, like, and stay with us for more untold stories.